round out this week of talking about food by talking about something that I've been asked a lot of times and I've been avoiding talking about it on this channel. And that is why I'm vegan, or just talking about, the journey of going vegan. Now, the reason that I've been avoiding this conversation is because it can be difficult to, it's a sensitive topic for a lot of people. Like, a lot of people have a lot of feelings around it, negative, positive. It's kind of like talking about religion. It's kind of like if I had a strong religious belief or like anti-religious belief, and it's like, okay, guys, I'm gonna sit down. I'm not equating veganism to a religion, but it is something that tends to bring out some pretty strong emotions in people. So for the most part, it's like, I just don't want to make people like feel judged. Like, I'm not judging anyone. I'm not, I guess what I want to make clear at the front of this video is that whatever choices that I make, I hope that I'm conveying that these are decisions that I've made for myself, and whatever decisions that you make for yourself, it's not like I don't feel like I'm better than you, or I know there's a lot of like the self-righteous vegan thing, and I think I used to be that a lot. Any family member watching this who has a memory of me at age 25 is probably like, oh yeah, you were that. But I don't think that I feel that way anymore. So I just want to say this at the front end. So the kind of genesis of this is, I think, I'm trying to remember, probably back in 2006 or 2007. I met a cute boy, and that cute boy was vegan. And I wasn't vegetarian or anything at the time. I had no idea. I don't even think I knew what vegan was. And that was a while ago. That was before it was kind of in pop culture and everything like that. It was like pretty much no one really knew what you were talking about, except for some people in the inner circle. So I can't imagine what it would have been like to be vegan in the 70s. Literally no one would have any idea what you're talking about. But yeah, so I remember having one MSN Messenger. I don't know if you guys remember MSN Messenger, but that I feel shows my age a little bit. That was the instant messaging platform of choice for, from about 2002 to 2006, somewhere in that range. I don't know if any of you guys did that too, but anyways, I was having an instant message session with this cute boy, and we had a conversation about it because I was curious. I didn't, I knew what vegetarian was. I didn't really know what vegan was. And in regards to being vegetarian, I threw all my counter arguments and stuff. I asked him questions, and I was like, well, what about this? What about protein? Or, the things people say. And I felt like he had a really good answer to all of my questions, to the extent that, at the end of that evening, I'm like, well, crap. Okay, I guess I'm vegetarian now, because I just felt like there was nothing that I could, the logic of it, for me, it felt like, oh, well, okay, I kind of, if I want to be consistent with my own beliefs or my own values, or what I think is true and things like that. So for example, one strong feeling that I was having around that time was okay, I'm eating animals, but I could never kill an animal. And I know there's I have friends who hunt and stuff like that, so there's definitely not a one size fits all kind of thing. But for myself, it's I'm well, why am I eating something that I couldn't actually kill myself? It felt like that was a disconnect. And that was one of the major takeaways from that conversation. And it was just okay, well, I guess I'm vegetarian now. And I remember the next day I had a tuna salad sandwich because it was in the fridge. My mom had made it, and then I was never again. And then yeah, it was never again. That was going vegetarian was a super easy decision, honestly. It was just one instant message conversation. It was a light bulb went off. It was why have I been living this I don't know, conflicted reality? It just didn't align with my internal logic. So that was super easy. And I remember reading, he had a book called The Idiot's Guide to Being Vegan or something like that. And I remember reading it, and I was okay, cool. I feel like I have a better sense of why you chose this. But I didn't go vegan. And I'm sure that probably annoyed him when I ate cheese on everything. But I had the sense when I was vegetarian that I would go in that direction eventually. But I didn't want to put some kind of artificial pressure on myself, I have to do this right now or I'm a bad person, that kind of thing. I really had this feeling of there's going to be a point in time where I want to do this, and it feels like the most natural, logical decision, just like going vegetarian did, where it just something clicks and it's like, okay, this is easy. I didn't want to go vegan and have it feel like some kind of like intense struggle where I'm just like, oh, if only I could have cheese or something like that. Like I didn't want to feel that way. I wanted to feel like I enjoyed my life. I wanted to feel like I was living my life fully. I wasn't like restricting myself. And I just had a sense that that was bound to happen with veganism one day. Like I knew that was the direction I was going in, but I didn't have a timeline for it. And I didn't want to put pressure on myself to get to that point faster. And that point hit for me probably like 3 or 4 years later. And yeah, and it was a similar experience. I think I just started reading more books. And for me, there's 3 reasons that people generally think about like veganism or plant-based. Plant-based refers more to like the health thing, but it's usually to do with ethics and health and the environmental consequences of animal agriculture. And these are usually the 3, like someone usually comes at it from one of those 3 angles. So I know people who like have a strong science background who feel really passionately about the environmental aspect of it. These people, from my experience, tend to be not like vegan, but they're interested in like minimizing their meat consumption to like a few times a month or things like that, just in terms of the environmental toll. And then there's people who do it for health reasons. So for example, like my mother can actually like control her blood pressure if she eats like a low sodium plant-based diet in a way that she can if she eats like say a low sodium diet where she eats lots of chicken. And that's something that she's had like experience with her like blood pressure monitor and everything like that. So there are people in my life who eat plant-based or eat sometimes plant-based for health reasons. And then of course is the stickiest one, which is ethical reasons. And this is the one where it's difficult to have conversations with people about ethics without just making it feel like you're making some kind of moral judgment. So for me, the reason that I came around to veganism, vegetarianism, I didn't know anything about the health or environmental stuff till like much further down the line. It just didn't feel consistent with my values. So at first it was like just eating an animal, when I like really started considering it, just didn't fit. It's like it's like a pair of pants that was too baggy or something. It just didn't fit me. It just didn't feel right. It felt like I would have to kind of like lie to myself a little bit to make it feel right. So by becoming more accepting of myself, like accepting my values, I was able to kind of accept that like, okay, this is like a direction that makes more sense. So since becoming vegan, and even more so since becoming, or vegetarian, and even more so since becoming vegan, it's one of those things that I'm the most proud of almost anything that I've done, because it's a decision that I make that's contrary to the norm, and I'm not proud of it because it's contrary to the norm, but that makes it difficult to do, or at least it used to be a little bit more difficult. It doesn't really, I mean, it's been so long at this point that it's just like, I'm vegan, what's the big deal? And no one seems to care anymore, but it is somewhat like to stand for your values, whatever they are, in the face of adversity, is something to be proud of. At least I feel that way. So any kind of injustice that you do something about. And not everyone is going to have the same feelings about every injustice, and there's a lot of bad things that happen in the world. So I get that, some people's responses tend to be like, okay, well, like, terrible things are happening to humans, so why would I, like, prioritize terrible things that are happening to animals? And I guess I just feel like, okay, well, yeah, so that's fair. Like, but just because I care about the welfare of animals doesn't mean that I don't care about human rights issues, and I think they can kind of like go together. Like, you care about 2 things at once, I guess. It's not one or the other. But I guess I just feel like I kind of lost my train of thought there. But anyway, I think what I was just trying to say before I went off on a little side tangent is that being vegan is something that I do because it makes me feel like a more true version of myself. It makes me feel like I'm standing for my values. It aligns with how, like, what I think the world should be. I think the world should be kinder. I think the world should be less cruel. Like, factory farming is a terrible thing. I don't want to put my money towards that. And different people have a different experience of that. But for me, I feel like I'm a more whole, complete, and strong person by opting out of it entirely. It just, the sense of ease within myself, it's like I removed a layer. People throw around the term cognitive dissonance, and at least for me, this is a true experience. I feel like I've released some of the cognitive dissonance that I was experiencing, where my actions did one thing but my values were doing another thing. So I just feel much more balanced and whole when I can align my values with my actions. And this is like a forever process. And I'm certainly not a perfect vegan. So it's not like I'm eating animal products on purpose. But so I guess I wanted to finish by saying what I've kind of found over the years is probably the most important aspect of being vegan for me that I found is just being chill about it. And not being annoying and not like broadcasting it to the world beyond, like that's what I'm doing now. I'm only doing this because you guys have been asking me. I feel like there's some, like I've been asked this for a lot longer than just the last couple weeks, but so I'll talk about it when I'm asked, but I don't want to be like judgmental. I don't want to be that person, and I don't want to be really fickle either. So when I have a friend like, oh, can you drink this bottle of wine because I heard sometimes wines aren't vegan, and I'm like, I don't care if it was processed with fish bones, or I don't care if the sugar was, processed with bone char or whatever. If you want to be that kind of vegan, I'm not saying there's anything against that. But like that, I just feel like I kind of have to draw the line. If I'm in like a random small town and like I'm not going to eat something that's overtly not vegan, but if I'm getting like a piece of bread and it's like, this is probably vegan, but I don't know if it has some obscure like random egg product or whatever, but it's like, what's there? I'm not going to like make a fuss about it. Now, I won't eat something not vegan if someone prepares it. So if I go to like a family dinner and there's a non-vegan dish, it doesn't hurt my feelings to hurt some, like, or it doesn't make me feel bad to tell someone that like, oh, okay, yeah, that's vegan. That's not vegan. That's fine. I don't want to make someone feel bad if they didn't prepare something for me. This almost never happens, by the way. I have a really lovely family. But I don't eat non-vegan food when I go out. I don't eat non-vegan food in family dinner situations. But I also don't make a big deal about it. Because, like, what's, like, the worst case scenario? You go to a restaurant and you just don't eat a meal? Like, oh my goodness, I missed one meal. I'll just go home and eat some food later. Like, I feel like people make such a big deal about food, and to not make a big deal about veganism and to not make a big deal about like, oh, there's no food for me here. It's just like, I'm so offended. Or, when you order a pizza and you order vegan and you ask the waiter like 3 times, don't put cheese on this, don't put cheese on this. They bring you a pizza that has cheese. Not just being a total jerk about it, just being like, yeah, so there's cheese on this, man. Like, like it's annoying. But yeah, I just don't want to be that person. And I feel like being chill about it just makes it better for everyone. And I would rather live in a world where a lot of people are eating mostly plant-based. They're still eating animals sometimes, but like limited. But they're like mostly eating plant-based food than trying to like, I don't know, persuade everyone to go vegan. Because I know that's not like the answer. So I feel like when vegans get so intense, and like I said, I probably used to be this person, it creates an all or nothing mentality where it's like you have to be 100% vegan or like you're not vegan at all, and there's not like really a middle area. I'm like, no, it's great, like meatless Monday, this is great, like I don't know. And I know that some vegans watching this will be like, she's a soft one, like she's not committed, she still wears leather shoes. I know that probably gets me a little bit kicked out of the club. I don't care. So that's basically the gist of it. So I'll wrap up this video. I could probably I do talk about this for hours, like if it comes up with friends and stuff like that. So I'm sure there's more that we could talk about, but I feel like I've spent a lot of time also reading about the health. This is just kind of a final note I want to end on. I've spent a lot of time researching health because nutrition is just super interesting. And there's so much to learn, and it's a big world, and there's a lot of conflicting information. So I have a lot of fun sifting through a lot of information, just kind of like trying to get to the root, trying to get to the source, trying to like separate the conjectures and the falsehoods and everything from like what's actually like closer to the truth. It's like sleuthing. It's really fun. Actually, in another life, I considered going to school to be a dietitian. So when I like around the time I went to culinary school, that was one of the paths I kind of set out just because I loved researching nutrition so much. So I guess since this is a part that I'm passionate about, I want to make sure I wouldn't do it if I wasn't confident that I could do it in a healthy way. And I guess fundamentally, the safest and smartest thing to do that I feel like is to rely on the advice from major health organizations. So what does the WHO say about veganism, or what does the the USDA say about, or like Canada's governmental what do they have to say about plant-based diets? Do they think it's safe? And how would one need to do them effectively? And I feel like that's probably the most reliable way to base information on this, because who would be the best? I'm not really a conspiracy theorist in this way. It's like I feel like the WHO probably is going to have like the safest, most balanced approach, regardless of any kind of industry influence you could see. I think that that's probably like the best bet. And the WHO says that a plant-based diet is safe at all stages of life, if it's well planned. And I would also add that any diet needs to be well planned, not just a vegan one, because you can have a really, really crappy diet, a crappy vegan diet. You can have a really crappy not vegan diet. So I feel like everyone should have a well planned diet. But since the WHO does consider it safe, that's kind of like, okay, I'm like, well, that's good enough for me. And I've done a lot of reading to kind of like validate that for myself. But yeah, we're about like over a decade in. So far, so good. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video and I'll catch you on Monday. Bye, guys.